Welcome back to the Warbird Mistress. Today is Tuesday the 20th of April 1942, and this is A Walk Through the War. Beginning with the 1st Air Force in the American Theater of Operations Zone of the Interior, the 105th Medium Observation Squadron of the 65th Observation Group, which had been flying anti-sub patrols out of Langley Field in Virginia with their O-47s and O-52s, transfers today to MCIS Cherry Point. I guess they wanted to learn from the best, of course. Kidding aside, we go then to the 8th Air Force, as the headquarters of 8th Ground Air Support Command is activated at Bowling Field in Washington, D.C. Other commands of the 8th Air Force are en route to England as we speak. And with that, we turn to Wednesday, the 29th of April, 1942, where we begin with the 10th Air Force and the CBI, as Rangoon is hit again by a flight of B-17s, as they pound the dock area once more, hoping to refuse the Japanese the use of this valuable resource. While the focus on Rangoon may make little sense in the grand scheme of things, Rangoon is the only reliable port of disembarkation for the Japanese. It guarantees control of the Gulf of Motama and serves to cut off the British from territory east of the Arakan Range, cutting off rail access from Rangoon to Lashio and rendering moot the Burma Road through the Hengdawanshan Range. Without Rangoon, Mandalay and other points north would have to be taken using smaller vessels traveling upriver on overstretched supply lines in unfriendly territory well within range of Allied aircraft flying from India. Even with forces coming in from Thailand, those forces could not be sustained easily over the mountains and relying on scant Thai infrastructure. Taking out the docks would severely hamper Japanese plans to invade India, rob them of a crucial support hub, and make Allied control of northern Burma more likely to succeed. It would also mean that the Japanese would have to rely on the Thai for harbor access in faraway Bangkok. This would require them to access Burma via the difficult and time-consuming path across the Tenasserim Hills, or the Shan Highlands, and other obstacles that would be impractical, if not impossible, to transverse, even in the best of weather, let alone use to consistently supply a large army. Lack of harbor access would also force a withdrawal of motor transport, aircraft, and other petrol-dependent resources from Burma, limiting the ability to counter Allied strikes flying out of India, or to conduct reconnaissance in advance of ground forces. This would be a severe handicap to the Army, as the Oscar and Nate lack the range of the Zeke, and flying from Thailand or French Indochina would render Army cooperation aircraft useless, flying at the end of their range and countered by Hurricanes, Spitfires, and Warhawks. No matter how overwhelmed the Allies might have found themselves, the Japanese would be at a disadvantage. One could only imagine how unescorted Sallies and Anns would have fared over some of the world's tallest peaks if the assault against Mandalay, the Shan province, and the Burmese interior had been delayed a few weeks, while poorly supplied Japanese and Siamese troops wished for intact docks at Rangoon as they slogged against reinforced imperial forces in the world's least hospitable weather. Such targets at the end corners of the world in places known only through Kipling are where wars can be won or lost after all. In this case, it is too little and too late in application, however, to stop the Japanese as we move into Thursday, the 30th of April, 1942, as we see Lashio fall to the enemy. Lashio is 120 miles northeast of Mandalay, has a commanding view of the Yaw River Valley, and is only 28 miles northwest of Loy Leng, the tallest peak in the Shan Highlands. With the planned Thai annexation of the Shan province going forward, this guarantees a foothold for their two-front offensive striking against the Chinese rear guard on the Burma Road in the north, and invading India through Assam into Bengal in the west. Control over northern Burma will force the Allies to support any operations east of India by air in what will become famous as flying the hump. And with that, we look further south with the 5th Air Force in the southwest Pacific area, where in New Guinea the Army finally strikes back as the 35th and 36th Pursuit Squadrons flying out of Port Moresby strafe airplanes and fuel dumps at Leh and Salamaua with their Bell Airacobras. Nearly 7 weeks since the naval strike that marked the last time the Japanese there had been under Allied fire, this marks the beginning of a long struggle between the Japanese Navy and the United States Army Air Forces for the island. Meanwhile, in Australia proper, the headquarters of the 38th Bombardment Group Medium and the ground echelon of the 69th Medium Bomb Squadron transfer from Ballarat to Amberley Field outside Brisbane. The air echelon of the latter, together with their B-26 Marauders, remain stateside for the time being. The 71st Bomb Squadron Medium of the 38th Medium Bomb Group transfers from Ballarat to Bachelor Field, Australia with B-26s. Their first mission will be on the 15th September. And finally, coming back to home waters and the headquarters of the Army Air Forces in the Zone of the Interior, the headquarters of Air Transport Command is established at Washington, D.C., with Brigadier General Fred S. Borum, here seen in a post-war portrait, commanding. The ATC will be fleshed out this summer and involves turning over 200 civil airliners into a worldwide trade and passenger network at the service of national defense. Complete with their own command structure, ATC also includes an airport improvement and construction program, support services, and even khaki uniforms. One might say this is back when the airlines ended up looking like the Air Force and not vice versa. One might. Regardless, the ATC will become famous in such roles as flying the hump, supporting the invasion of Europe with transatlantic flights, offering rapid evacuation for wounded servicemen worldwide, and through the ferrying division, bringing aircraft from the assembly line to the front lines, a role in which Women Airforce Service Pilots, or WASPs, will excel. And with that, we close out the 28th, 29th, and 30th of April 1942. A special thanks to my top Patreon patrons and YouTube channel members. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and hit the bell for notifications. Check out the link below for merch at the store and ways to donate if you'd like to help support this channel. And of course now you can join the channel for as little as 99 cents a month by using that join button down below. Thanks for joining me in another step on the walk through the war. And until next time, this is Claire, and I am the Warbird Mistress. Take care.